The desert of the ruined planet stretched as far as the eye could see. Sandstorms had carved deep scars across the broken ground. Metal wrecks of old ships lay like skeletons, reminders of a war long forgotten. The human walked slowly, each step heavy, his breath shallow, his body weak. He had one thing left in his pack, a single ration bar, the last piece of food he owned. His name was Captain Aaron, once a soldier, now only a survivor. For 3 days he had not eaten, only drinking a little water from a cracked container. He thought many times about eating the ration, but he held back. If he ate it now, there would be nothing left for tomorrow. If he saved it, maybe he could make it to the signal tower far away. Hope was thin, but hope was all he had. As he walked through the ruins of a small outpost, he saw movement. At first he thought it was an animal, maybe a scavenger hunting for scraps. But then he froze because it was not an animal. It was a girl, small, thin, and weak, her skin pale like silver, her eyes half closed, her body shaking. She looked like she had not eaten for weeks. Aaron stopped, his hand on the ration in his pack. He told himself she was not human. Her pointed ears, glowing marks on her neck, and strange aura proved it. She was alien, one of the many species scattered across the galaxy. He remembered stories of humans betrayed by aliens. He remembered battles fought on distant worlds, but he also remembered hunger, pain, and the cruel silence of being alone. The girl looked at him with desperate eyes. She did not speak, only raised her hand weakly, as if begging. Aaron's heart pounded. His mind screamed that this was foolish. Why give away the last food he had? Why risk his life for someone he did not know? But his hand moved on its own. He opened his pack and pulled out the ration bar. The girl's eyes widened. She reached out, her fingers trembling. Aaron placed the bar in her hands. She looked at it like it was a treasure from the stars. Slowly, she ate, each bite giving her strength. Her silver skin seemed to glow brighter, her breathing steadier. Aaron watched in silence, wondering what he had done. The last ration was gone, and now he had nothing. The desert wind howled around them, cold and sharp. Aaron sat down against a broken wall, feeling weak. The girl finished the bar and looked at him. Her eyes now shone with a soft light, almost unnatural. She whispered something, her voice faint. It was not in human language, but somehow Aaron understood the meaning. She said, "Thank you." Then something strange happened. Her eyes glowed brighter for a moment. The marks on her neck pulsed with soft blue light. Aaron felt a wave of warmth around him. His pain, his hunger, even his fear seemed to ease. He blinked, unsure if it was real or only his tired mind playing tricks. The girl lay down beside the wall, closing her eyes. But she did not look weak anymore. She looked calm, almost peaceful. Aaron stared at the empty wrapper of his last ration. 1,000 questions filled his mind. Who was this girl? Why was she here? And what power was hidden inside her fragile body? The night sky grew dark, stars shining cold above. Aaron pulled his jacket tighter and closed his eyes. Sleep came slowly, but when it did, he dreamed of glowing light and voices in the void. He did not know it yet, but his choice had changed everything. The last ration was not just food. It was the beginning of a story that would shake the galaxy. The first light of dawn touched the ruins, painting the broken metal with shades of gold. Captain Aaron opened his eyes slowly, his body stiff and tired. For a moment he forgot where he was, then he saw the silver-skinned girl beside him. She was not weak anymore. Her chest rose and fell with steady breath, her skin glowing faintly. Aaron frowned, because no normal creature healed so quickly. After starvation, he rubbed his eyes thinking it was only a dream. But the glow did not fade. It seemed alive, pulsing like a heartbeat. The strange marks on her neck now stretched across her shoulders, shining like blue fire under the skin. Aaron felt uneasy. He had seen soldiers wear armor with energy shields, but this was different. This was not technology. It was part of her. The girl opened her eyes, silver mixed with bright blue light. For a second, Aaron stepped back, his instincts warning him, but she only looked at him quietly, as if waiting. Aaron tried to speak, but his voice was dry, his throat cracked. Finally, he said, "Who are you?" The girl tilted her head, not answering. Instead, she stood up slowly, her body stronger than last night. Aaron noticed the ground where she had slept. The stone looked burned with strange patterns. He crouched, touching the marks, but they were warm. His hand pulled away quickly, his heart racing. Whatever she was, she carried power inside. Her power too strong for a starving child. Aaron's stomach growled, the reminder of his sacrifice biting into him. He had nothing left to eat, and the signal tower was still days away. Part of him regretted giving her the ration, but another part felt something different, a pull he could not explain. It was as if helping her had bound his fate to hers. The girl suddenly walked toward the wreck of an old shuttle half buried in sand. Aaron followed carefully, hand near his sidearm. Inside, the broken craft, wires hung like vines, dust thick on the floor. The girl touched a shattered console, and as her fingers brushed it, the machine flickered. Blue light spread across dead screens, and for a moment the shuttle hummed with life. Aaron froze. He had spent weeks trying to power old tech for survival, and nothing had worked. Yet this alien child had revived a dead ship with only her touch. The glow around her pulsed brighter, filling the cabin with strange light. She whispered words he did not know, and the metal seemed to respond like it could hear her. Aaron's heart beat faster. Was she a weapon or something even more dangerous? He wanted to ask, but before he could, a sharp sound echoed outside. Boots crunching on stone, voices carried by the wind. Aaron grabbed her arm and pulled her down. Behind the console, through the cracks of the shuttle wall, he saw them. Tall figures in black armor moving across the ruins, their helmets smooth, their rifles glowing with red lines. They were not scavengers, they were hunters. Aaron recognized the way they moved, silent and precise. And worst of all, they were not searching for him. Their scanners pointed toward the girl. Aaron's breath caught. His hand tightened on his weapon. The girl looked at him with calm eyes, as if she had expected this. Her glow dimmed, fading under her skin until she looked normal again. She pressed a finger to her lips, telling him to stay quiet. But Aaron's thoughts spun in chaos. Why were these hunters after her? What secret did she hold? And why did he feel that protecting her was more important than his own life? The armored figures spread out, scanning every corner of the ruins. One stopped near the shuttle, its visor glowing red. Aaron held his breath, sweat on his forehead, his finger on the trigger. The girl squeezed his hand gently, her touch strangely warm. Then her marks pulsed once, faint but clear, and the hunter suddenly turned away. As if blind to their presence, Aaron stared at her in shock. The girl only whispered one word, her voice soft but filled with power. Run. The ruins were no longer silent. Shadows moved across the broken walls, armored hunters searching every corner. Captain Aaron held his breath, his body pressed against the dead console. The alien girl sat close beside him, her glowing marks now hidden under pale skin. He could hear the hunters' voices, sharp and mechanical. They spoke in a language of static and command codes, but one word repeated again and again. Target. Aaron knew then they were not here for scavenging, they were here for her. The thought made his stomach twist. He had given his last ration to a stranger, and now he was caught in her fight. Still, some part of him refused to abandon her. She was small, fragile. Yet the glow in her body spoke of a secret worth killing for. He had to know the truth. One of the hunters stepped closer to the shuttle wreck. Its visor scanned, red light sweeping the dust. Aaron tightened his grip on his pistol. He knew he could kill one, maybe two, but not all of them. Before he could act, the girl touched his hand, her skin warm, her eyes steady. She whispered only one word, "Now." Blue light flared across the shuttle wall, a pulse invisible to the hunters. Aaron felt it vibrate in his chest. The closest hunter staggered, its visor flickered. For a moment it looked blind. Sensors dead? Aaron pulled the girl to her feet, and together they slipped out through the back of the wreck. They ran across the ruins, boots crunching on broken stone. The wind carried the hunters' shouts behind them. Aaron's lungs burned, his stomach empty, but fear pushed him forward. The girl kept pace easily, almost too easily, her strength unnatural for her small frame. The glow beneath her skin pulsed with every step. He wondered if the hunters could see it, if it was guiding them like a beacon. They reached the edge of the ruins where the desert stretched wide. Aaron knew running into the open was suicide. The hunters' rifles would cut them down in seconds. So he pulled the girl into a collapsed tunnel, the remains of an underground passage. Darkness swallowed them, the air damp and cold. The walls hummed faintly with old power lines long dead, but the girl's glow lit the way like a lantern. They moved deeper, their footsteps echoing. Aaron's mind raced with questions. Who were these hunters? Why did they want her? And why had that soldier's instinct inside him already chosen to protect her? It felt like he was caught in a story too big for him, a story that had begun the moment he gave her his ration. The tunnel split into 3 paths. Aaron hesitated, listening. From behind came the sound of metal boots entering the tunnel. The hunters were close. The girl pointed silently toward the left passage. Aaron trusted her and followed. Minutes felt like hours, the tunnel twisting deeper underground. Then suddenly, voices echoed again. The hunters were faster than he thought. Red light scanned the walls. Growing nearer, Aaron's heart hammered, his hand shaking on his pistol. But the girl stepped forward, calm. Her marks glowed brighter, blue veins of light running along her arms. She touched the tunnel wall, and for a moment, the ground itself responded. Rocks shifted, dust fell, and the passage behind them collapsed with a roar. The hunters' voices were cut off by stone and silence. Aaron stared at her in shock, his ears ringing from the sound, his mind struggling to believe what he saw. The girl turned, her face pale but her eyes glowing like fire. "You cannot let them take me," she whispered. "If they do, the galaxy will burn." Aaron's throat went dry. He wanted to ask what she meant, but there was no time. Because from the other end of the tunnel, another hunter appeared, weapon raised. Its visor reflected the blue glow of the girl, and it spoke in a cold, metallic voice. "Protect her, or the galaxy burns." The tunnel shook with echoes, dust, falling like rain from the ceiling. The words of the hunter still rang in Captain Iran's ears. Protect her, or the galaxy burns. But how could a dying soldier protect anyone, especially a child who glowed like a living star? The hunter stepped closer, its rifle aimed straight at them. Aaron raised his pistol, but his hand trembled, his body weak. He had only a few rounds left. The girl stood beside him, her eyes calm, her marks burning faint blue in the darkness. The air between them felt alive, charged with unseen energy. The hunter fired. Red light. Cutting through the tunnel, Aaron pulled the girl down, the beam scorching the wall, sparks flying. He rolled to one side and returned fire, bullets smashing against the hunter's armor. One shot cracked its visor, forcing it back a step. But the machine was too strong. Aaron knew one man's gun would not be enough. The girl suddenly raised her hand. Her glow flared brighter than before. Blue waves rippled across the tunnel, humming like thunder. The hunter froze, its armor shaking. Lines of light crawled over its body like chains. Then, with a crack of energy, the machine collapsed, smoke rising from its joints. Aaron stared in shock, his pistol lowered slowly. The girl swayed on her feet, breathing hard, but her eyes never left his. She whispered, "We must move." He nodded, still stunned. Without her, he would already be dead, but without him, she would still be hunted. It was a bond neither of them had asked for, yet it tied them together. They pressed deeper into the tunnels until a broken hatch opened to the surface. Aaron pushed it aside. Sand pouring in. The desert stretched ahead, endless and cruel. Behind them, he could hear faint echoes. More hunters were coming. The girl stepped into the light, her silver skin reflecting the sun. Aaron followed, squinting at the horizon, and the distance black dots moved across the dunes, drones circling, searching. The hunters would not stop, not until she was theirs. Aaron knew they had to keep moving, but his body screamed with hunger, his legs heavy like stone. The girl noticed, her glowing eyes soft with concern. She touched his arm, and a wave of warmth flowed into him. For a moment, the pain and exhaustion faded. Aaron gasped, feeling alive again. "What did you do?" he asked. The girl only shook her head, saying nothing. They walked toward the jagged remains of an old starship lying half-buried in the sand. Its rusted frame leaned against the horizon. Like the bones of a giant beast, Aaron knew such wrecks were dangerous, full of traps, scavengers, or worse. But it was their only hope, a place to hide. As they approached, the wind grew stronger, sand cutting like knives. The girl's glow flickered under her skin, guiding their steps. Inside the wreck, shadows swallowed them. The halls were broken, walls twisted from fire and impact, yet power hummed faintly through cables. The girl touched a wall, and lights flickered weakly to life. Aaron stared again, wondering what she truly was. No ordinary alien child could do this. She was something. More, something lost or hidden. Suddenly, a noise echoed in the distance, metal striking metal, the sound of machines entering the wreck. The hunters had tracked them again. Aaron cursed under his breath, pulling his pistol. The girl closed her eyes, her marks glowing stronger. "We are not safe here," she whispered. Her voice carried weight, like she already knew the future. Aaron looked at her, his soldier's mind torn between logic and instinct. Logic said to abandon her and escape alone. Instinct screamed to protect her no matter the cost. He remembered the ration, the choice that started all this. He could not walk away now. Footsteps drew closer, red light scanning the broken halls. Aaron raised his weapon, preparing for the fight. The girl placed her small hand on his shoulder. Her glow spread into the air around them, bending light and shadow. For a moment, their bodies blurred, hidden from sight. The hunters entered the room, passing only a few feet away, but their eyes saw nothing. Their scanners reported emptiness. Aaron's heart pounded as they slipped unseen into the deeper corridors. He looked at the girl, both fear and awe in his eyes. "What are you?" he whispered. The girl turned her glowing gaze to him. Her answer was soft but chilling. "The last hope." The corridors of the ruined starship twisted like a maze. Captain Aaron moved carefully, his pistol raised, his eyes sharp. The alien girl walked ahead, her faint glow casting shadows on the walls. Every sound echoed, the groan of broken metal, the whisper of shifting sand. He felt hunted even in silence. They stopped in a chamber where the ceiling had collapsed long ago. Through the cracks, sunlight spilled across shattered consoles. The girl placed her hand on one of them and the screen flickered weakly to life. Strange symbols filled the display, glowing in blue light. Aaron stepped closer, staring at the writing. He did not know the language, yet his mind somehow shaped the meaning. The console spoke of an ancient race, a people of light and power, a people who had once walked across the stars guiding younger worlds. But they had vanished, destroyed, or hidden, their fate lost to time. Aaron turned to the girl, realization striking him like a blade. "You're one of them," he whispered. The girl lowered her head, her silver hair falling across her glowing face. Her voice was soft, almost trembling. "My people are gone, but their fire lives in me." Aaron felt his chest tighten. He thought he had saved a starving child, but he had awakened a remnant of a forgotten age, something far greater than himself. The console showed more images, cities floating in the sky, weapons of light, entire worlds reshaped. Aaron shivered, knowing power like this could destroy empires. The girl touched another panel and her marks glowed brighter. The machine responded like it knew her. She was no refugee, no accident, she was a key. Aaron stepped back, his soldier's mind spinning. He remembered the warning, protect her, or the galaxy burns. But what if she was the one who would make it burn? The girl looked at him with those glowing eyes, as if reading his doubt. "You fear me," she said softly. Aaron did not answer, because the truth was written on his face. Her expression did not change, but her voice grew stronger. "I did not choose this, I did not ask for this power, but now it is mine." She raised her hand, and a shard of broken metal lifted from the floor. It floated in the air, spinning slowly before dropping again. Aaron's heart pounded. He had seen soldiers with weapons, ships with cannons. But this was different. This was alive. Before he could speak, the ship shuddered. The hunters had entered the wreck again, their scanners cutting through the halls. The girl looked toward the sound, her face calm, almost resigned. "They will not stop," she whispered. "They know what I am. They know what I can become." Aaron gritted his teeth. He wanted answers. He wanted to run. He wanted to survive. But the girl's words cut through all his doubts. "If they take me, their empire will rise forever. Millions will suffer. If I am free, I can fight them. I can bring hope, but only if you stay with me." Aaron stared at her, his breath heavy. He was only one man, broken and starving. Yet she looked at him as if he carried the weight of destiny. His choice in that moment felt heavier than any battle he had fought. He remembered the ration, the small act that had started everything. Perhaps fate had chosen long before he realized. The hunter's footsteps grew closer, metal against metal. Their red lights flashed in the distance, cutting through the darkness. Aaron raised his pistol again, his eyes hard. He stood beside the girl, no longer questioning. "We'll fight," he said, his voice steady. The girl's marks glowed brighter, filling the chamber with blue fire. Her power hummed through the walls, answering his words. For the first time since the war began, Aaron felt something more than survival. He felt purpose. And he knew that whatever she truly was, her fate and his were now bound together. The chamber shook as the hunters entered, weapons ready. The girl raised her glowing hand and Aaron raised his gun. Together, they faced the storm. The chamber walls still echoed with the fading hum of her power. The hunters lay broken, their armor cracked, their red lights dead in the dust. Captain Aaron lowered his pistol slowly, his hands shaking. The girl stood in the center, her glowing marks fading back under her skin. She looked drained, but her eyes held a fire that unsettled him. Silence followed, heavy and strange. For the first time since their meeting, Aaron thought they might be safe. But safety was an illusion on this ruined world. From the shadows of the corridor, more figures appeared, not hunters this time, but men and women in ragged armor. Their faces were human, their weapons raised. Aaron froze, his heart skipping. He recognized the markings on their armor. Survivors. They were remnants of human forces, who had scattered after the war. Their leader, a tall man with sharp eyes, stepped forward. "Captain Aaron," he said, his voice rough, "we thought you were dead." Aaron lowered his weapon slightly. He knew this man. Commander Vey, once a trusted officer in the same fleet. Relief washed through him for a moment. But then he noticed the way Vey's eyes lingered on the girl, not with pity, not with wonder, but with hunger. Like a man who had finally found what he was searching for. "You're alive," Aaron said slowly. "Yes," Vey answered. "And we've been watching. We saw her." The girl stepped back, her glow dimming. Aaron moved protectively in front of her. "She's not your enemy," Aaron said firmly. But Vey only smiled, cold and thin. "She's not a child, Aaron. She's a weapon," Vey said. "With her humanity can rise again. We can crush the Empire. We can take the galaxy for ourselves." The other survivors nodded, their eyes burning with desperate hope. Aaron's gut twisted. He had seen this before. Men blinded by power. Men who would sacrifice anyone for their own gain. The girl's hand gripped Aaron's arm, her voice trembling. "They want to use me," she whispered. Aaron felt anger rise in his chest. She had trusted him, and now even his own people threatened her. He shook his head, stepping closer to Vey. "She is not a weapon, she's alive, she chooses her own path." Vey's smile faded, his expression turning hard. "You've gone soft, Aaron. The war broke you," he spat. "Look at yourself. Half-starved, hopeless, clinging to an alien child. While the rest of us fight to survive, you're feeding the enemy." His soldiers raised their rifles, red sights glowing. The girl's glow pulsed faintly, her fear leaking into the air. Aaron's heart pounded. He wanted to believe in Vey, in unity and humanity. But the truth was carved in the man's eyes. Vey wanted control, not freedom. He would chain the girl, bleed her power, and call it victory. No, Aaron said, his voice firm. She stays with me. Vey's eyes narrowed, his voice cold. Then you've chosen your side, and it's not with us. Tension thickened, the air sharp with betrayal. The girl clung to Aaron's sleeve. He could feel her trembling, yet inside her he sensed something building. Not just fear, but anger. The kind of anger that burned like a star. Vey raised his hand, giving the order. Before his men could fire, the girl's glow exploded. Blue. Light filled the chamber, shaking the walls. Aaron shielded his eyes, heat rushing over his skin. When the light faded, half of Vey's soldiers lay unconscious. Their weapons melted. The others stumbled back in shock. Vey cursed, pulling a blade from his side, but Aaron stepped between them, pistol raised, his eyes cold. You want her, you go through me, he growled. The girl's marks burned bright, again filling the ruins with a low hum. Her voice rang clear, strong for the first time. I will not be a weapon for your war. Vey's expression twisted in rage. You'll regret this, Aaron, both of you, he spat. He and the surviving soldiers retreated into the shadows. Their threats echoing behind them. Aaron stood still, his chest heavy. The girl looked at him, her eyes searching. You chose me over them, she whispered. Aaron nodded slowly, though his heart ached with the weight of betrayal. They were never my people anymore, he said quietly. They forgot what it means to be human. The echoes of Vey's threat still lingered in the broken chamber. Captain Aaron stood in silence, his pistol heavy in his hand. The girl's glow had faded, leaving her pale and fragile again. But Aaron had seen the truth. Her strength was more than power. It was something raw, something alive, and it frightened him as much as it amazed him. The air smelled of smoke and burnt metal. Shadows stretched across the ruins as the sun dipped lower. Aaron leaned against a wall, exhaustion crushing him. The girl knelt beside him, her silver hair glowing faintly in the dim light. Her voice was soft, almost guilty. I did not want to hurt them, but they left me no choice. Aaron looked at her, his face stern. You saved me, he admitted, but your power, it's dangerous. She lowered her head, her small hands trembling. It is not mine to control. It is bigger than me, she whispered. Aaron felt a chill, the kind that came before a storm. That night they found shelter in the hollow belly of the wreck. The girl sat quietly, her eyes closed, her body glowing faintly in rhythm with her heartbeat. Aaron tried to rest, but sleep did not come. The memory of her light tearing through men's weapons haunted him. She was no longer just a girl in need. She was a force that could shape the future. The silence broke when the ground trembled. A low hum filled the wreck like the sound of engines waking from a long sleep. Aaron sat up sharply, pistol ready. The girl gasped, her marks blazing bright across her arms and face. Energy surged around her, lifting the dust into the air. Aaron's eyes widened. She was changing. Her body glowed brighter and brighter until the chamber shone like a blue star. Aaron shielded his eyes, heart pounding. The air grew thick with heat and light. The walls shook, cracks spreading across the ceiling. The girl cried out, her voice filled with pain and power. Her small frame trembled, and then the energy burst outward. The wave knocked Aaron to the ground, his weapon clattering away. For a moment he thought the wreck would collapse, but instead the walls lit with ancient symbols glowing in answer to her power. Aaron realized the wreck was no simple ship. It was built by her people. Her awakening had called to it, like blood answering blood. The girl fell to her knees, her eyes glowing bright. Aaron crawled toward her, shouting her name though she had never given it. The glow around her pulsed in rhythm with the ship. Screens lit up. Machines long dead hummed alive. A voice spoke through the chamber, mechanical yet ancient. Protector of humanity detected. Aaron froze, his breath caught in his chest. The voice repeated, stronger this time. Protector of humanity is not human. The words sank into him like stone. He looked at the girl, her glowing face wet with tears. What does that mean? He whispered, But she could only shake her head, her body collapsing into his arms. Her glow dimmed slowly, fading back into her skin. The chamber went silent again, the ancient systems dying with her fading power. Aaron held her close, his mind spinning. If the prophecy was true, then the fate of his people did not rest in human hands, it rested in hers. The girl stirred weakly, her voice trembling. They will come again, stronger this time. They fear what I am becoming. Aaron gritted his teeth, determination hardening inside him. Then let them come, he said, his voice low. I will stand with you. Outside, in the dark desert, lights flickered on the horizon. More hunters, more machines, closing in like wolves. Aaron looked at the girl in his arms, her breath unsteady. He knew the awakening was only the beginning. Whatever she was becoming, the galaxy would soon learn her name. The desert night was filled with cold silence, broken only by the distant hum of machines. Captain Aaron crouched at the edge of the wreck, watching the horizon. Far away, red lights blinked in the darkness, moving like a swarm of fireflies. They were not stars. They were ships, hundreds of them. The Empire had arrived. The girl sat behind him, her eyes still glowing faintly from her awakening. She looked fragile, yet something about her presence made the air heavy. Aaron felt it in his bones. The Empire feared her. That was why they hunted her with such fury. If she lived, their rule could collapse. If she died, their grip on the galaxy would remain unbroken. Aaron turned to her, his voice low. Why does the Empire want you so badly? The girl looked at him with eyes that glimmered like silver fire. My people once fought them, she said, her tone calm but filled with sorrow. They feared us because we could see through their lies, break their chains, destroy their machines. When they thought we were gone, they rose to power. Aaron clenched his jaw, anger burning in his chest. He had fought the Empire too, but only as a soldier, in a war humanity had already lost. The thought that this small child carried the power to undo them felt unreal, and yet he had seen it with his own eyes. She was not only a survivor, she was a storm waiting to be unleashed. The ground trembled as dropships descended from the sky. Dark shapes spread across the sands, their engines roaring like beasts. Aaron's heart pounded. There was no way to fight them head-on. They had weapons, soldiers, machines of war. He had only a pistol, a half-dead body, and a girl the Empire called a threat. But she stood tall beside him, her marks glowing brighter as the ships landed. She placed her small hand on the metal wall of the wreck, and the ship responded. Old circuits humming awake. Lights flickered, panels glowed, engines that had been silent for centuries whispered again. Aaron's eyes widened. You can control it, he whispered. She shook her head, her voice steady. No. It remembers me. The dropships opened, soldiers in black armor spilling out, their rifles glowing red. They formed lines, moving with perfect discipline. A voice boomed across the sands, deep and cold. Hand over the child, and you may live. Aaron's fists clenched, his answer ready. But before he could speak, the girl stepped forward, her glow lighting the dark. Her voice carried across the desert, soft but unshaken. I am not yours, she said. The soldiers raised their rifles, their visors glowing, but for a brief moment they hesitated. Even they could feel the weight of her presence. Aaron pulled her back into the wreck as the first shots fired. Red beams cut through the air, blasting stone and metal. The girl's glow flared, forming a shield of blue light around them. The beams struck and scattered, sparks dancing like fireflies. Aaron stared in awe. Her power was no longer just flickers, it was strength. But each blast weakened her. Her knees trembling, Aaron grabbed her arm, pulling her deeper inside. They had to escape. Not fight a war they could not win here. The wreck groaned as if alive, responding to her touch. Doors slammed shut. Corridors, sealed, engines whispered louder. The ship wanted to rise again. Outside, the soldiers regrouped, their commander stepping forward. He raised a massive weapon, a cannon that hummed with deadly energy. Aaron's blood ran cold. If that fired, The wreck and everything inside would be ash. The girl pressed both hands to the wall, her glow flooding. The ship. Engines roared. The floor shook. For the first time in centuries, the ancient starship tried to lift from the sand. The commander's voice echoed one last time. She is the end of empires. She cannot be allowed to live. Aaron held the girl close as the ship trembled. The empire was here and there would be no turning back. Their fight had just become a war. The ancient starship groaned as its engines came alive. Blue light pulsed through broken circuits, shaking sand from its hull. Outside, the Empire's soldiers tightened their formation, weapons glowing red. They fired again and again, beams slamming against the ship's rising shield. Each strike echoed like thunder, but the shield held. Captain Aaron clung to a rail inside, his body trembling with the vibrations. The girl stood in the center of the chamber, her eyes closed, her marks blazing bright. The ship responded to her, as if it were alive. Aaron watched in awe and fear. She was not controlling it. She was becoming part of it. Her voice filled the room, soft yet strong. This ship remembers me. It remembers my people. Aaron steadied himself, his throat dry. And what does it want? He asked. The girl opened her glowing eyes. It waits for my choice. Aaron frowned, his soldiers' instincts prickling. Choice, he repeated. The girl nodded, her voice trembling with weight. I can awaken its full power, enough to destroy the Empire's fleet, enough to break their rule. Her glow dimmed slightly, sadness flickering in her eyes. But once I do, I cannot stop it. It will consume me. I will not be myself again. The words struck Aaron harder than any weapon. He stared at her, this small child carrying the burden of a galaxy. Her power was not just light and fire. It was sacrifice. She could end the Empire, but she would lose everything. Aaron's chest tightened, anger rising at the cruel choice forced upon her. Outside, the Empire's commander raised his cannon. The weapon hummed with deadly power, shaking the ground. The girl gasped, her glow flaring as if she felt the danger deep inside. Aaron grabbed her shoulders, his voice sharp. No, don't burn yourself for them. Her silver eyes searched his face, full of trust and sorrow. They will never stop, she whispered. If I do nothing, your people will remain slaves, your worlds will remain broken. Aaron clenched his fists, his heart torn. He wanted victory. He wanted freedom. But not like this, not at the cost of her soul. He shook, his head, his voice low. You don't have to destroy yourself to save us. The ship trembled harder, as if urging her to decide. Screens lit with ancient words, pulsing with the same phrase again and again. Choose. The girl swayed, her body weak from holding back the power. Aaron pulled her close, his arms steadying her. You're not alone anymore, he said firmly. You don't need to carry this by yourself. Her eyes filled with tears that shimmered like silver light. I trust you, Aaron, she whispered. Then trust me to find another way, he answered, his voice steady. The ship's glow dimmed slightly, responding to his words. The girl lowered her hands, breathing hard. The engines slowed, though their hum still filled the chamber. Outside, the commander's cannon fired. The blast struck the shield, tearing it apart in a storm of fire. The wreck shook violently, walls cracking, panels exploding. Aaron shielded the girl with his body, debris raining around them. Smoke filled the air. Alarms screamed in dead languages. But through the chaos, the ship still stood. The girl lifted her head, her glow flickering, weakly. I will not let them take me, she said. But I will not become their weapon either. Aaron met her gaze, his heart heavy but proud. You made your choice, he said quietly, and I'll fight to protect it. The Empire's fleet above shifted, preparing for a final strike. Aaron gripped his pistol tighter, though he knew it was nothing against their fire. Still, he would not abandon her, not now, not ever. The girl leaned against him, her voice faint but unbroken. The war begins tonight, and the galaxy will remember our stand. The wrecked Starship shook under the storm of enemy fire. Flames crawled across broken panels. Smoke filled the air. Captain Aaron coughed, pulling the girl behind a wall of twisted metal. Her glow flickered weakly. The power inside her drained from holding the shields. Yet her eyes still burned with stubborn light. Outside, the Empire's fleet circled above like vultures. Dropships landed in waves, black-armored soldiers pouring into the desert. Their voices carried over the comms, sharp and merciless. The target is inside, secure her at all costs. Aaron gritted his teeth, his hand tight on his pistol. One man against an army. Yet he would not step aside. The girl leaned against the wall, her small hands trembling. "I cannot stop them alone," she whispered. Aaron nodded, his voice steady even in fear. "Then we make them bleed. Every step, every shot, until they know we will not break." The girl's silver eyes met his, and for the first time she smiled faintly. The Empire soldiers entered the wreck, red lights cutting through the smoke. Their boots hammered the metal floor as they spread. Into formation, Aaron fired first, his shots echoing like thunder. One soldier dropped, then another, but the rest advanced without fear. The girl raised her hands, her glow sparking back to life. Blue light cracked across the air, throwing soldiers. Into the walls, the wreck became a battlefield. Blasts of red and blue clashed in the dark corridors. Metal screamed, dust fell. The ship itself seemed to roar. Aaron fought like a cornered wolf. Every bullet counted. The girl fought like a storm, her power bending light and sound. But the Empire's numbers were endless. For every soldier that fell, two more entered. Aaron's pistol clicked empty, his chest heaving. He grabbed a fallen rifle, its weight strange but familiar. With fire in his eyes, he fought on. Then came the machines. Towering war drones marched into the wreck, their cannons glowing. Aaron cursed, diving behind cover as the floor exploded around him. The girl's glow flared brighter, her voice rising in strange words. The drones froze mid-step, sparks leaping. Across their joints with a single pulse, she tore them apart, metal raining like ash. Aaron looked at her in awe. Her power was terrifying, but it was also hope. She collapsed to her knees, her glow dimming again. Aaron rushed to her side, pulling her up. "You're stronger than all of them," he said. "But you cannot burn yourself out. Not yet." The Empire commander entered at last. A giant in black armor, his visor glowing red like fire. His voice echoed cold and sure. "You cannot win, human. She belongs to us. Her destiny is ours." Aaron raised his weapon, rage boiling in his chest. "She is not yours," he growled. "She chooses her own destiny." The girl's marks flared one last time. Filling the chamber with blue fire, the commander raised his blade, energy crackling along its edge. The two forces collided, light and shadow clashing like thunder. The ground split, the walls shattered. The battle was no longer just survival. It was the first strike of a new war. Above, the Empire's fleet tightened its circle, ready to erase the wreck from existence. Across the sands, signals echoed, other survivors and hidden allies hearing the call. The fight for one girl had become the fight for all, and the war that would decide the fate of the galaxy had begun. The wrecked starship burned like a dying beast in the desert. Explosions echoed inside its broken hulls, shaking the ground beneath. Captain Aaron stood face to face with the Empire's commander. The armored giant towered over him, blade of red energy in hand. The girl stood behind Aaron, her glow faint but steady, her silver eyes unblinking. The commander's voice was cold, dripping with certainty. "She is the key, and with her, the Empire will never fall." Aaron tightened his grip on the stolen rifle, his chest heaving. "She is not your key, she is not your weapon," he said. "She is hope, and you will never have her." The commander lunged, his blade cutting the air. Aaron barely dodged. The heat of the strike burning past his face, he fired, but the shots bounced off the armor like sparks. The commander struck again, forcing Aaron to the ground. Pain ripped through his body, but he refused to let go. The girl stepped forward, her glow pulsing, her marks burned brighter, spreading across her skin like fire. Her voice rang through the chamber, strong and clear. "I am not yours. I am not a weapon. I am the end of your empire. The commander turned, his blade raised, but she lifted her hands and the chamber exploded with blue light. Energy surged through the wreck, tearing walls apart. The commander staggered as the light pierced his armor. He roared, swinging wildly, but his strikes hit nothing. The girl floated above the ground, her body wrapped in burning light. Her voice echoed, carrying power older than the stars. I am the last of my kind, and I will not be silent. Aaron shielded his eyes, watching in awe. She was no longer the fragile child he had met in the ruins. She was something greater, a force that could reshape the galaxy, but even in her power, he saw pain in her face. She was giving everything she had. The commander fell to his knees, his armor cracking. The girl's light pierced his core, tearing the energy within him apart. With one final scream, his body shattered into dust and ash. The wreck fell silent. The battle ended. But the girl collapsed, the glow fading from her skin. Aaron rushed forward, catching her before she hit the ground. Her silver eyes fluttered open, her voice faint. "It is done," she whispered. Aaron shook his head, holding her close. "No, it is not done. The Empire still stands. We still have to fight." She touched his chest with a trembling hand. "Not as slaves, not as weapons, but as free people." Outside, the Empire's fleet shifted in the sky. But something was different. The energy from her awakening spread across the horizon like a wave. Signals broke, ships faltered, systems failed. The Empire's fleet shuddered, their control collapsing. Aaron stared in shock. Her power was not just destruction, it was truth. She was breaking the chains the Empire had wrapped around the galaxy, not with fire, but with light. Her people's final gift was not death, but freedom. The girl's voice trembled again. "You gave me your last ration, and with it, you gave me a reason to live. Because of you, humanity will rise again." Aaron's eyes burned with unshed tears. He had thought he was only a broken soldier, but somehow, his small choice had changed the fate of worlds. The girl closed her eyes, her glow dimming into silence. Aaron held her tightly, his voice shaking. "You're not alone. Not anymore. Not ever." Above them, the night sky blazed with stars. The Empire's fleet scattered like shadows before dawn. And in that moment, Aaron knew the war was far from over, but hope had returned to the galaxy, carried by the last light of an alien girl.